Oh yes guys, we're back. Ivan Tech here, and today we'll be speaking about the upcoming US presidential elections and most importantly, what kind of effects they may have on the crypto market. Currently, we have the president, Sleepy Joe Biden, running the country.
My name is Joe Biden, I love ice cream.
And he's doing that together with his gang of crypto war-raging Democrats. On the other side of the fence, you have the orange man himself, ex-president Donald J. Trump.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges.
With a firm hold on the Republican nomination, possibly even from jail. Let us know in the comment section if you think Trump will be running from jail, whether they're gonna get him in jail before the elections. We have newcomers like the stylish Vivek Ramaswamy.
Do you want a super PAC puppet? Or do you want a patriot who speaks the truth?
And of course, everyone's favorite Floridian, Trump's nemesis, for now at least, the hater of the CBDC, Governor Ron DeSantis.
And I will not let you down.
And the newest man on the scene with some very powerful roots in American democratic politics, Mr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
We are entering one of the most dangerous periods in our history.
Whose views on Bitcoin, freedom, and other things scare the administration and all the fiat-loving politicians everywhere to their core. We will talk about each of these men, who they are, their views on crypto, Bitcoin, central bank digital currencies, some of their policies, their beliefs, and how it may all affect the crypto markets. Plus, price predictions. We will tell you where we think the Bitcoin price will be for each of these candidates should they become the president. Let's get into it. Right now, not many Americans are paying attention to crypto, and folks are definitely not paying attention to crypto as it pertains to the 2024 presidential election. But I'm here to tell you that as we get closer and closer to the election, politicians, especially running for presidency in the US, will pay attention to crypto. Crypto will be one of the key questions that will drive this election. And it may seem incredible right now, it may seem absolutely crazy today, but just like social media was the main factor in 2016 elections and no one thought that Twitter or Facebook would affect any elections just a few years prior, the same thing right now is happening to crypto. Crypto is becoming the question, the litmus test, whether a candidate is pro-freedom or pro-totalitarian regime. And that's a very important question. So the upcoming 2024 US presidential election will arguably be the most interesting and exciting election of our time. Just think about it. The way the parties differ is insane. The rhetoric is insane. We've never had this kind of divide in the US, and of course the stakes are higher than ever. We are a little over a year from the election, and most don't think there will be anything coming out of Congress until the dust settles and we will see who controls the House, the Senate, and the White House. If you look at it through that lens, most likely we will just see a gridlock situation until the election shows us which party holds the executive branch. So let's talk about the presidency and what a Democrat or a Republican president would mean for the greater crypto market. The general belief is that if a Republican wins the White House, that would be more bullish for the crypto markets, as another 4 years of Biden, another 4 years of Gary Gensler could severely damage crypto and crypto businesses in the US, but also worldwide. There is a lot of validity to that view, unfortunately. Others, however, believe that crypto is inevitable because it is worldwide, and that if the US does decide to keep trying to kill Bitcoin, to kill crypto, they're only hurting themselves. Though we do know that policies that get adopted in the US tend to get adopted by other countries. However, more adoption in the US means that the topic of being a pro or anti-crypto candidate can only stay under the radar for so long, as inquiring minds want to know what their candidate thinks about crypto. The Winklevoss twins recently said that this war on crypto will absolutely hurt the Democrats. The billionaire co-founders of Gemini Exchange said, and I quote, "Crypto has already won the hearts and minds of millennials and Gen Z." Cameron Winklevoss made the point that the youth vote rescued the US Democratic Party from defeat in 2020. However, they are currently being alienated by the existing administration, by Gary Gensler, by the existing SEC. He tweeted, quote, "Senator Warren and Gary Gensler, war on crypto is going to alienate an entire generation of would-be Democrats." His twin brother Tyler concurred. Roe vs. Wade cost Republicans the midterms. The Senator Warren and Gary Gensler's war on crypto will cost the Democrats the 2024 election. Cameron concluded, quote, "They, meaning politicians running for office, may not care about crypto now, but they will care about the lost votes." So, what can happen and who are the leading candidates for president? On the Democratic side, we have President Joe Biden that has the advantage to become the nominee for the Democrats. And we have ex-president Donald Trump that has the advantage to become the nominee on the Republican side, which would mean a repetition of 2020. Here's the problem. Both Trump and Biden have both outright rejected crypto. Some, however, think that it wouldn't take much to convince Trump that Bitcoin is good for the US dollar and that he could possibly embrace it. Just look at El Salvador and what Bitcoin did for El Salvador.
Crime is down over 99% in that country. The murder rate is down over 99%. You want to know why? Is it because of Bitcoin?
Let's talk about the candidates and our Bitcoin targets if they become president, starting with ex-president Donald Trump. Trump, who's polling at an average of 52% for the Republican nomination according to 538.com, is still the dominant Republican candidate despite of an array of civil and criminal charges. Former President Trump is actually an enigma when it comes to crypto issues, originally saying he would take crypto donations for his campaign, then talking against it once in office. He hasn't addressed crypto lately, but in his direct comments in the past, he established himself as a digital assets skeptic. Still, that didn't stop him from launching his own collection of non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, that reportedly garnered him almost $5 million in licensing fees, and he's said to personally hold $2.8 million in ETH, according to Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Looking at his governing record, Trump spent 4 years in the White House without advancing significant crypto policy. Though one of his appointees, Brian Brooks, who was at the office of the Comptroller of Currency, did seek to open the banking system to crypto, and his market regulators allowed Bitcoin and Ether futures trading. Trump has made comments that let us know that he knows Bitcoin is a currency, saying that he wants the dollar to be the dominant currency. This is a positive in my view, as it shows he understands that Bitcoin essentially is a currency competing with the dollar.
I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
He's also made some positive statements about Vivek Ramaswamy, another candidate in the Republican primary, who is a proponent of Bitcoin. And if Vivek was to land the vice president position, there is your avenue for Trump to be orange-pilled. Dubious speculation, I know, but there it is. We're going to put the Bitcoin price, if Trump is elected, at least $90,000 within this current cycle. And the reason for that is that in case Trump is elected, we know Gary is gone. We know the SEC is changing. We know that the Fed will have to decrease interest rates. We know that big changes are coming across the board. And honestly, whatever change happens, it will be bullish, because currently we have a very hostile administration, very hostile SEC, and a Fed which just increases interest rates. All of these factors will flip in case Trump is elected. That's why we are speculating on the price of $90,000 before the cycle is over, at least $90,000. We now move on to Ron DeSantis, who is polling at 15% and is the governor of the great state of Florida, still clinging to his role of Trump's chief, if distant, rival. He is seemingly an avowed crypto booster. He made political theater out of an effort in his state to block any central bank digital currency, and instead he championed the path for Americans to invest in Bitcoin and other crypto assets. Though the effort doesn't actually stop the CBDCs from being released. It just states that Florida will not recognize it as money. He has made it clear that a central bank digital currency where the government can monitor you and possibly control you is bad for the US. DeSantis has criticized the Biden administration for what he characterized as a war on cryptocurrency, which he argues includes the White House, the Treasury, and the SEC.
Presidency is not a job for someone that's 80 years old, and there's nothing, wrong with being 80. We need an energetic president.
When he announced his candidacy with Elon Musk on Twitter, now X, he said he believes that people should have the right to do Bitcoin. Many were quick to point out that he probably doesn't know what he's talking about, as you cannot do Bitcoin. By and large, that criticism of this possible slip of the tongue has passed. However, maybe that's just how some folks talk down there in Florida. Let us know in the comment section. If DeSantis is elected, we are projecting Bitcoin to be at least $120,000 within this crypto cycle. And the reason for that is because DeSantis has explicitly said that he does support Bitcoin. And that's bullish, and we like that. Then we have the illustrious Vivek Ramaswamy. Falling at 10% and climbing, he is a biotech entrepreneur who put in a lively debate performance a few weeks back and is one of the strongest crypto voices within the Republican field. Ramaswamy, who spoke at Bitcoin Miami this year, has presented himself as the pro-Bitcoin candidate who understands the decentralized alternative that Bitcoin is to the US dollar.
That QR code takes you today. I'm pleased to announce that we're the first GOP campaign in this cycle to accept Bitcoin as a unit of currency for donations.
Now, some believe that Vivek is trying to land the VP position. You can imagine how bullish it would be for crypto in case Trump becomes president. Remember, Trump has ETH bags and NFT bags, and Vivek becomes vice president with all of his pro-crypto statements. That would be fantastically bullish for crypto. So, if Vivek, however, earns the top spot and becomes the president, we think Bitcoin could go as high as $150,000, which is higher than DeSantis, which is higher than Trump alone. Why? Because he's been explicitly pro-crypto, speaking at conferences, engaging with the community on levels we haven't seen DeSantis do, on levels we haven't seen Trump do at all either. So that's very important. Now, let's move on to the Democrats and speak about the Sleepy Joe, Joe Biden. The DNC, the Democratic National Committee, is pushing Joe Biden as their nominee, and they're doing it hard. However, many Democratic voters would rather see someone other than Sleepy Joe as the nominee. It is obvious he's progressing into his golden years, so to speak, and that's not something that everyone would like to see in a president.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him...
But as he is the sitting president, he is the default lead candidate for the Democratic nomination. According to the DNC, the only candidate. So, what would it mean for crypto if he were to become president again? In a nutshell, it would be bad, folks. We must remember the president appoints key positions in the government, the Fed chair, the SEC chair, and numerous other positions that affect our market. If President Biden were to get another 4 years, word on the street is that Gary Gensler would take Janet Yellen's job as Secretary of the Treasury or remain as the chair of the SEC. And Gensler could do more damage as Secretary of the Treasury than in his current position as the chair of the SEC. So things can only get worse. There's one possible silver lining to a Biden presidency: more stimulus, more printing, which could have a positive effect on the price of Bitcoin. If Sleepy Joe is re-elected, we say that the Bitcoin price will at least be $80,000, as most likely we will hit an all-time high in the next bull market. However, I personally have a hard time being as bullish as with the other gentlemen we just mentioned. Moving on to the only other Democrat looking to secure the nomination for the 47th President of the United States. That is worth talking about at least, and that is RFK Jr., the greatest proponent of Bitcoin and the greatest adversary against corporate capture, CBDCs, and censorship. That is, of course, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the son of the former Senator and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy Sr., and the nephew of President John F. Kennedy, both of whom were assassinated, by the way. He is pledging to take back the Democratic Party, as he so eloquently puts it, to bring back the party to its roots, an actual Kennedy Democrat, a pro-freedom, anti-war, anti-censorship, anti-corruption, anti-corporate capture, and pro-Bitcoin candidate. Of all the presidential candidates, RFK Jr. understands Bitcoin's value proposition by far the best. However, the Democratic-led media in the US has been pushing voters against him by ignoring him, bad-mouthing him, doing stories against him, and never lacing him on air. The Democratic electorate has essentially been gaslit into thinking he is no good for the country, an anti-vaxxer with crazy viewpoints, a conspiracy theorist, and much worse. But his popularity still continues to grow as he speaks truth to power. Even without CNN and MSNBC's help, appearing on countless podcasts, such as for example Joe Rogan podcast and others, he is an American inspiration to a fact. He also spoke at Bitcoin Miami conference this year in what was one of the most prolific speeches on money, Bitcoin, and freedom I have ever seen.
Who is involved in Bitcoin is passionate about it. They're not passionate because it's an interesting currency. They're passionate because of the deep representation of a deep need that we have for liberty and democracy.
He truly understands Bitcoin and why it's needed and why it's not going anywhere. His stance on how he would treat it if he were president is the most popular by far in the Bitcoin community. I encourage you to watch that speech.
As president, I will make sure that your right to hold and use Bitcoin is inviolable.
It's a long way until the 2024 election, which will take place in November, and there is time for this long shot to climb in the polls and shock the world. If RFK wins, we think Bitcoin could go to a whopping $170,000 in the coming crypto cycle, at least. Why? Because he would really shake up the field like no one else. He would really ensure that the politics are done differently, at least based on his current speeches, on his current opinions. We'll have to see how much of that becomes reality. The winner of this race will have a huge impact on crypto and Bitcoin. Buckle up, folks, it's going to be a wild ride the closer we get to the election day 2024. Thank you all for watching. Now I want to ask you a question. Who do you think will win in 2024? Do you think RFK still has a shot? Do you think there is someone else who can climb the ranks and snag the Democratic nomination? Who do you think will win the Republican nod? Or do you think it's Sleepy Joe against the Donald, a rematch with Vivek in the VP slot? Let us know in the comment section. Have a great day, smash up the like, and goodbye guys. Goodbye.